There was a story in the Adventist Review a few years ago about a man named Larry. The pastor who was serving at Larry's church at the time had complimented Larry's walking stick, stating that it was beautifully carved. And Larry had told him a story about how even though he was a supportive, generous, and a true servant of God's, he had been carrying a heavy burden. He had recently come to the realization that he hadn't really been active in winning souls for Christ, and so he prayed that God would give him a ministry. One day, when he was reading the story of Moses, when God says to Moses in Exodus 4 verse 2, "What is that in your hand?" Larry thought, "Of course, my walking stick. People always notice it and ask about it." So Larry created a flyer with a picture of the walking stick on the front, with the title, "What is that in your hand?" Inside, it created 4 things: the story of Moses, the story of salvation, Larry's personal testimony, and an appeal. Whenever someone complimented Larry's walking stick, he would hand them one of his leaflets and encourage them to read it. Larry was 92 years old and sharing his faith simply with what he had in his hand.
If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Take my hands, Lord, and my feet. Just touch my heart, Lord, speak through me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Just take my hands, Lord, and my feet. Just touch my heart, Lord, speak through me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. I remember a story from the Bible days about a man called Moses. He had a rod in his hand. He said, "Moses, take the rod in your hand, stretch it forth and walk on dry land. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Use me, Jesus. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Take my hands, Lord, and my feet. Just touch my heart, Lord, speak through me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. I remember a story, I remember it well. God took a shepherd boy, David, with a sling in his hand. He took the rock and the sling in his hand. He threw the rock and the giant fell dead. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use a sinner like me. Oh, yeah. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. I'm available to be used, so yeah. Take my hands, Lord, and my feet, melt my heart. Touch my heart, Lord, speak to me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Take my If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Lord. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. I'm too big, you take it, Jesus. Take my hands on, take my feet, take my soul, touch my heart, Lord, speak through me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. Take my hand. If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me. That's our prayer. Take my hands, Lord, and lead my hands, and touch my heart, Lord, speak to me. If you can use anything, Lord, if you can use anything, Lord, if you can use anything, Lord, you can use me.
So in Exodus chapter 3, God called Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let the Israelites go. And Moses was ready with the excuses, the yeah buts, and what ifs. In verse 11, he responded, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" He was focusing on his own inadequacy. He felt as though he wasn't equipped enough. He didn't have all the answers that the Israelites needed, and he was afraid that they wouldn't believe him. He felt like he was bad at public speaking, and so he wanted God to send someone else. The same way that God gave Moses a mission and told him to go to Pharaoh, he's also given us a mission: go and make disciples. Sometimes we might feel like we don't have the tools that we need to succeed in this mission, or maybe we feel like we don't have enough faith. When Moses first came to the burning bush, God introduced himself as the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And he later repeated it, adding, "I am who I am." Think about it. How often are we called to do things, but we try to come up with different reasons as to why we can't do them? Either too shy, not skilled enough, not well respected, etc. We often make excuses based on who we are, but in these times we need to be reminding ourselves of who God is. In this week's Sabbath School lesson on Friday, there was a quote taken from Ellen White's Christ Object Lessons, which said, "There can be no growth or fruitfulness in a life that is centered on self. If you have accepted Christ as a personal savior, you have to forget yourself and try to help others. Talk of the love of Christ, tell of his goodness." We need to get over ourselves and our insecurities about what we can and can't do. It's not about us, it's about what God can do in us. When Moses first had his doubts about whether people would believe that God had sent him on this mission, God asked him a simple question: "What is that in your hand?" Moses responded, "A staff." That staff ended up being the same staff that turned into a snake back again. The same staff that gave the Israelites water from a rock when they were thirsty. The same staff that God used to part the waters so that the Israelites could cross. Basic things can be used to do brilliance for God. Sometimes we want to wait for the right time, or so that we can develop our skills, or the right people, or need to study this and get the qualifications for that, when God has already given us what we need right here, right now, within our reach. Look at David. They could have said, "Right, David, what we're going to do is we're going to put you on an intense training program. You're going to have to eat these foods, go to the gym 3 times a day. We'll give you the right armor to make sure that you're protected, and then you can go and fight Goliath." Saul even tried to give David his armor, but it wasn't what God had put in David's hand. In verse 50 of 1 Samuel 17, it says, "So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in the hands of David." David didn't need someone else's armor. He had the armor of God. David had to draw from his past experiences and his skills that other people didn't have to kill Goliath. When David said that he would kill Goliath, Saul doubted him, saying he was just a young boy. But David was able to draw from these experiences as a shepherd, killing a lion and a bear while looking after the sheep. He boldly responded to Saul, saying, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hands of this Philistine." In Patriarchs and Prophets, Ellen White says, God was teaching David lessons of trust. As Moses was trained for his work, so the Lord was fitting the son of Jesse to become the guide for his chosen people. Think back to your past experiences in life. Can you think of any skills that you've gained or things that you've done that might have been preparing you to fulfill a mission in the future? Sometimes God is preparing us for big things and we don't even realize it at the time. Many people know the artist Vincent van Gogh for his many paintings. Some people know about the different mental health issues that he had throughout his life. What many people don't know is that Vincent van Gogh was actually the son and the grandson of preachers. And so naturally, he, his family, the church community, and all those around him thought that that would be his path as well. And he tried to follow along that road. However, he wasn't as well dressed or well spoken as what people had expected a preacher to be. He would help people who were less fortunate. He would give his bed sheets to minors so that they could use them as bandages. He even helped a pregnant prostitute and took her in and helped her to look after her child. When the church saw this behavior, they weren't impressed, and so they rejected him. And so Vincent gave up. He stopped trying to force pastoral ministry, figured it wasn't for him. But he became depressed, struggled with alcoholism and mental health issues throughout his life. But throughout all of his struggles, he never lost faith. He continued to do good for people and found his ministry through art, creating many faith-based paintings and paintings that were able to show the beauty of God's creation. He desperately wanted to be in ministry. He wanted to touch people's lives. He was trying to fill the shoes of his father and his grandfather, but he didn't realize that he had his own shoes and his own path to walk in. He had a ministry, but it just looked different to theirs. In one of his letters, he said, "It is my fervent prayer and desire that the spirits of my father and my grandfather may rest upon me, that it may be given me to become a Christian and a Christian laborer, and that my life may resemble more and more the lives of those named above. For behold, the old wine is good, and I do not desire a new one. Oh, that I may be shown the way to devote my life more fully to the service of God and the gospel. I keep praying for it, and in all humility I think I shall be heard." Dying at 37, Van Gogh wasn't able to see the impact that his work had on the world, but we can be sure that through the kindness of his character, in him using his gift through painting, and also through the various letters that he sent to his brother Theo, where he was able to show how his faith was always keeping him going and giving him strength, he's been able to minister to many all over the world. Often when we talk about going into ministry, we have an idea of what that looks like. Someone who is going to Newbold or Oakwood, Andrews or wherever, getting a theology degree so that they can become a pastor of the church. And that's great if that's what God has called us into. But we should all be able to look at ourselves and say, I have gone into ministry. Not necessarily as a pastor or a preacher, but in using whatever gifts God has given me to use to spread the gospel. The General Conference Communications Department's mission is building bridges of hope. This is building bridges between us and the communities around us. As many of us know now, the strategic plan for the past 5 years has been around the theme of Reach the World, with the theme for the next 5 being I Will Go. When the I Will Go plan was launched just over a year ago, there was a comment on the YouTube page during the live stream, and it said something along the lines of, well, that's not fair to tell us to go and do mission work. Not everyone can afford to get on a plane and do mission work. this is for privileged people with money. And I thought, I'm currently sitting in my bedroom in Bedford watching something happening in America, and that's being broadcast worldwide. Sometimes we hear the word mission and we instantly think it means that we need to go overseas to do some kind of voluntary work. And we've been blessed with the technology. That means that if I'm able to, I absolutely can get on a plane and do just that. However, we've also been blessed with the technology that if I just want to do mission work from my home in Bedford, I can still be just as, maybe even more effective. I can still reach the world. We can't, in these modern times, talk about what is in our hands without talking about what is being called the digital Swiss Army knife of modern technology, the smartphone. If you have a smartphone, take a look at it now. You probably already are. How many apps are there that you can use to communicate? Messenger tools, messages, WhatsApp, emails, from social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Go through your contacts list. How many contacts do you have? According to surveys done by Statista in 2019, 95% of UK households own at least one mobile phone. 76 respondents send text messages daily, and the use of Facebook and WhatsApp are rising all the time. As of last year, there were 45 million active social media users, spending 1/5 of their time on social media. That translates to 66% of the population of the UK. On average, Brits spend 2 hours and 34 minutes online on their smartphones every day. However, this information was published last year prior to lockdown, so it's very possible that it's higher at this time. People are glued to their screens now more than ever for learning, for work and play. We can get in touch with everyone from here to the other side of the world. With our phones and digital devices, we really are able to go and reach the world. The fact is, our phones and our tablets and all our devices, they've got a lot of tools and things that we can do with them. The question is, do we want them to be tools of distraction or tools of discipleship? What is that in your hands? There is a story of a child who had a great love of reading and writing, and through practicing, his talent flourished throughout his childhood. He was constantly inspired to write verses and would naturally rhyme his words, even while having casual conversations, to the point where his father one day became so annoyed, he demanded that his son would stop speaking in verse. That child grew up to be the minister and hymn writer Isaac Watts, who wrote over 700 hymns, including When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, Marching to Zion, and I Sing the Mighty Power of God. Isaac Watts struggled with his health the majority of his life, but he was still able to use his gifts for God. What is that in your hands? What are your favorite things to do? If you're a child, what are your favorite subjects at school? Think about how you could be doing the things you love to share the love of Jesus. Do you like to doodle and draw pictures? How about drawing pictures of Bible stories? Do you like to write? Write a more modern day parable or a song. Write a sermon. Do you like to talk? Preach that sermon or share your testimony. Make a podcast. Those of you that are a bit older, is there a skill that you once enjoyed doing when you were younger that you stopped doing? Maybe you were told that it was a waste of time, or maybe you still love to do it, but life just got in the way. Is it something that you could revisit? This time last year, the quarter Sabbath school lesson was entitled Making Friends for God, the Joy of Sharing in His Mission. The mission isn't supposed to be some awful task that we hate but have to do. We're supposed to have joy in doing it. Think about how much more effective we can be in ministry, how many more people we could reach if we use the variety of skills, talents, and gifts that God has already blessed us with to share the good news about Him. We all have something that we can use to communicate who God is to people who don't know. Think about how you can use whatever that is for you to reach others. Last year, Yolanda and I created a video on people within our church community who are using the skills and talents that they have to share the word of God. Here it is.
My name is Becky Kanjewe.
My name is Rachel Kanjewe. My name's Amanda Kanjewe. And we are part of the Wonderful Voices Junior Choir.
What are the skills and talents that you possess that you have used to create and develop your ministry?
For me, I am a very good leader within the choir. I'm also very helpful and like to help people. And I am also very loyal and committed to a choir.
Mine are that I love singing. I love being a conductor of the choir, and I also am very friendly to the choir. Mine are singing harmonies, being kind, and going on Wonderful Voices trips and holidays.
The choir started in June 2006. Our parents and some of our aunties and uncles, just a few of them decided to set up a choir and decided to set up a singing group to go and sing around other churches. And they started telling other people about it, and the choir just grew and grew till now. And now we have the senior choir and the junior choir.
So what is the mission or aim that you have for the choir? Why was it started?
The choir was started to help other people know about Christ.
In what ways do you feel God has directed your ministry? What path has He led you down that has been able to allow for this ministry to grow and develop into what it has today?
God has led us in a lot of ways. Obviously, as a choir, we've had challenges, but this ministry has grown. Now we have over 40 members, including seniors and the juniors. But as we said, quite a few years ago, 14 years ago, it wasn't established. God obviously wanted us to add more people. God has led us to a place. There were only 2 kids out of the whole choir, and it wasn't even a choir then, it was a group. There were only 2 kids, and now we have, as I said, over 40 members, including everyone. And He leads us every month. We always go to other churches, and we always go and sing our songs and
Spread the gospel.
Spread the whole gospel, yeah. Go and let other people know how good God is. So God has helped us in a lot of ways. And with our ministry, we've also had 2 CDs, and we've also recently made a DVD. So yeah, He's helped us.
So where do you think, for each of you personally, where do you think God is guiding your next steps?
For me, in my personal life, I want to be baptized so I can help around the church, help to come like one of those adults who help and do all the things, because I've already started doing it, but I haven't really got into main things. So what I've mostly done is help church cleaning or do fundraisers. So yeah, I want to help and get baptized.
Tammy?
Mine are the Wonderful Voices, so we can sing some more songs and spread the words to the world. So yeah.
And Betty?
Mine would be to personally help other people, as Tammy said, in Wonderful Voices itself, but also in other places where Wonderful Voices is not known, to go and sing there, go and help other people, but also not also in the church, outside of the church as well, for people who need it most.
What advice would you give to people who want to use their skills
to start a ministry, whether it's online or as you all are doing within a choir or in another community-based outreach?
What I would do is say follow your dreams, follow what you want to do. If it's anything like singing, dancing, or whatever, just do it. Because it's what you want to do. Mine is, it's not about the colour of your skin or what you like, and just do what you want to do, like Rachel.
For me is don't worry what everyone else is doing. Don't worry what the trend is, or these songs are not in trend, or this isn't in trend. Not everyone else is doing this. As I said, do what you want to do. And anyway, the thing you're doing is to give glory to God. That's the whole reason you're doing it. So it doesn't matter which way you're doing it in, but also communication is key between people. Communication and commitment. You need to have commitment. You can't just say you're in it 1 week and then not come the next week, or someone says that they're coming but they don't come. Communication and commitment is very key.
But make sure it's something that you know is right. Because you have to make sure that that thing is right.
Hi, my name is Dean Jones. I'm a member of Bedford Community 7 Days Adventist Church. I've been asked today to talk a little bit about the skills and talents that God has blessed me with and how I've been able to use that in ministry for God. You know, after 30 years, I can truly say that the Lord has blessed me with the ability to learn almost anything really quickly and apply those skills, that ability to any scenario really, whether it be project work or at work or some of the ministries that I've been involved with. He's blessed me with 3 degrees. So my first diploma in BTEC National Design, I went on to do a BA Honours in Graphic Design and then on to doing an MSc in Communications Design. And then I went on to teaching as a design lecturer at Barking College and working for the Voice newspaper in Brixton and other various jobs, also working as a freelance designer. I then went back to uni and completed another diploma and master's degree. But I always continued to have a passion for design, for web, including coding. And I continue to do that in my own time. And I always said to myself, I'm going to not let those skill sets go to waste. So I believed God wanted me to use it in ministry. And so what has my journey in ministry been like so far? Well, I've created various websites over the last 20 years. Social networking websites to dating websites for Christians. I created an alternative to WordPress called Bible Press, which I sewed. And then 7 years ago, I went on to create a website called GodInterest, which was the alternative for Pinterest at the time. Now that caught me by surprise because it attracted 6,000 users within the first 2 days because it was featured in all the major newspapers around the world, including Huffington Post, Evening Standard, Washington Post, Atlanta Post, you name it. I continued to manage that platform for the preceding 6 years, and then I closed it down because the platform just wasn't right, and also I wanted to move on to just running a social media news blog, which I do today. That membership has grown tremendously since then, and I work with Pastor Ray Patrick and other Christians to send out daily devotionals on a daily basis to over 10,000 Christians around the world. Been doing that for the last few years. I've also led on creating many large groups on LinkedIn. I've got an entrepreneurs group, what was predominantly for Christians, but it's open to all. That consists of over 20,000 people, and in all throughout all my groups on LinkedIn, I've got about 50,000 members and 15,000 followers. Combine that with the membership of GodInterest and the other social media accounts that I manage, and there's lots. I've got a combined reach of 100,000 people. that I send regular blogs out to and various other things, and that is split up throughout my various platforms that I use. What was my mission or aim? Well, with GodInterest, with the Christian websites, it's always been to bring communities together, non-Christians and Christians alike, to save people's lives, for people to be saved, to accept Jesus. I've always wanted to inspire people, to support people in their daily walk, whether it be in jobs, whether it be whatever they're going through, just to really have groups and platforms for people to use, to reach out to just use social media and those platforms that are out there as a means to reach people. And I do that through all my profiles, and have done for the last 10 years. In what ways did I feel God has directed my path? Well, GodInterest, for example, a lot of people have said to me, why didn't you monetize the website? After all, you've got over 10,000 members. I didn't feel it was the right thing to do. I did attempt it a few times, and then I didn't do it in the end. I just felt that God wanted me to, not do that, basically, not make money off of people for something that was meant for him. So I've continued to fund these platforms with my own money over the years, knowing that, it's reaching people, and, I don't know how far it's gone or how many people have been saved, but even if one person was saved from all the work that I've done and other people who have supported the various platforms, it will be worthwhile. And I think God is guiding me in my next steps. Where to? I just continuing to use my skills for the kingdom, for him. And through that, God will bless me with more skills in more areas where I'm able to go and proclaim his word. So what advice would I give those starting off to use their skills? Pray. I can't emphasize that enough. Prayer is powerful. And from prayer, you need to move on to planning. Don't just jump on an idea. I've been there. I've done it. And sometimes you think something is simple. It's usually not. And usually requires a lot of background research, and money for that matter, to develop stuff like apps and websites. And I've always thought, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to a high standard. I want it to be as good as any other platform out there. Otherwise, it's not good enough. And the next thing you want to do is action. I've never been a person of lots of words. I'm fairly quiet, but I am a man of action. And when I set my mind to do something, I do it. And the main thing to remember is the battle. This walk is not for the ones that are swift, but for people who can endure. And I think if you can endure and you've got staying power, that is what you need to keep, your ministry going forward and growing and moving.
Hi guys, so in this video we want to talk a little bit about our ministry, when we started, what was the motive behind it, and where is it at today. So the ministry is called Be Ready Ministry. It started a few years ago when I was still at university. I was reading through the Bible. I was still learning at the time. But then in Matthew and Mark we have two very important Bible verses. Matthew 24 with verse 14, which says, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached to the whole nations as a witness, and then the end will come. And then we have Mark 16 with verse 15 that says, go into the whole nation and preach the word to all creatures. And so these two Bible verses has really made me think a lot, because I felt that I had a calling. God was calling me to something, but I didn't know what it was. And so I went on my knees and I prayed, God, what is it that you want me to do? Because you have called me to spread your word. I can't really go into the mission field because I still have to finish my uni. So what is it that you want me to do? And so God answered to me and said, God, what can you do? What do you have in your hands? And not because the theme of today is what do you have in your hands, but it was because that's the response that God has given me. Gabs, what is it that you can do? What do you have in your hands? And so my answer was, well, God, I know a little bit about social media, I'm very good at that. I know how to manage that very well. I have a passion for media and technology. And this is when God said, exactly, that is what I want you to do. That's when we started a page called Be Ready Ministry, and we just started creating these beautiful quotes of encouraging messages, motivational messages, Bible verses, and we would share it with people on Instagram, on our page. The page started growing, and it grew beyond what we actually expected, because we started very small, maybe with a few hundred followers, but then it grew up to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, and even more. Right now we're at around 14,000 people that are expecting these quotes. People are now waiting for us to actually distribute all these Bible verses and motivational quotes and all of this content that we have started distributing since that time. We've managed to build a community of people, and the response that we got from the audience is just unbelievable, because these were people that were writing to us and was saying, thank you so much for sharing this with us, because today I was going to do this and that, I was going to make this mistake, but because I've seen this Bible verse today, I know that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And so we've realized the impact that the quotes, these simple things that we were making, had on people. And so we just kept on going and kept on going, but we knew that God was behind the project, and we're so thankful that God has given us this opportunity. The question is, what do you have in your hands yourself?
It's not just about talents, it's also about the resources that we have. And I do believe that we have a privilege. We are blessed compared to other people, and we have access to so many things, so many resources, so many platforms, so many things that we can use to reach others. And I do believe that God wanted it to be this way. God wanted television to be used to reach people, radio to be used to reach people, or social media to be used to reach people. At the moment, we're reaching people that are based in America, in Africa, in Philippines, in Thailand, in so many places that we couldn't even think of. And this is really the message that we want to pass on to everyone else. What resources do you guys have? What talents do you guys have? What platforms, what things do you have access to that you can use to reach people and tell them about God?
So as you can see, it's not just about preaching. There is much more that you can do to spread the word of God and fulfill what God has called us to do in Mark chapter 16 with verse 15, which is going to the whole world and preach the gospel to all creatures. What do you have in your hands?
What is that in your hands? What do you already have that you are overlooking as a tool to use to share God? It could be your talents, skills, gifts, knowledge, understanding that you have on certain subjects, personal relationships that you have with certain people. It could just be your story. Don't ever underestimate the power of your story. It belongs to you and only you. Maybe you wish to take it more literally, like Larry in the story earlier, and you have something that you always carry with you that people are drawn to. Maybe a walking stick, a bag, a watch, or something that can sometimes seem like is always glued to your hand, like a smartphone. Just something that you use in your everyday life. Get creative and make a step to use that as a missionary tool, so that we can build a bridge of hope between ourselves and our community and get one step closer to reaching the world.